Live from the Pepsi Studios in New York City, it's the Hospitality Hangout podcast featuring the restaurant guy and the finance guy. Everything is better with Pepsi.
I like it. Schatz, we had some good fun with our friends from Pepsi. Did they buy into these Tito's and Pepsi? Are they ready for it?
I got to tell you, Jimbo, I pushed hard the last night at RLC.
How about this? Tito's and Starry.
I mean, I got to tell you, everything goes really nice with Starry. I got to tell you, I pushed hard for Tito's and Starry. We'll see what happens. They weren't loving it. You know what they told me? They told me they did this with Mountain Dew. They said they did a hard Mountain Dew, and I said, but we're not talking about hard Mountain Dew. We're talking about Starry and vodka.
Yeah.
It's a different ballgame.
I'm telling you, catch on Tito's and Starry. All right, listen, I want to formally welcome everybody to the Hospitality Hangout, a hospitality-focused podcast where the founders of Branded Hospitality Group share their insights and bring technology and innovation leaders that are making things happen in the industry we love. My name is Jimmy Frischling, otherwise known as the finance guy, and I'll bring it back to him, my brother from another mother, Mr. Michael Schatzberg, also known as the restaurant guy.
And thank you for that kind introduction, Jimmy. And you call me Schatzy, by the way. Everybody call me Schatzy. You know this, right?
Yes.
We are the combination, the dynamic duo behind Branded Hospitality Ventures. We are at the intersection of hospitality, technology, innovation, capital, and all things loyalty, blockchain, crypto, anything that intersects there, that's where we play.
How about data?
At least today. You know, I had a problem with data, and I asked at a panel I was on this past week, and they said it was whatever you want it to be.
Okay.
It could be data or data.
All right.
Jim, but before we jump into it, I want to talk to you about something that's been keeping me up at night. Do you ever hear of QSR automations?
Have I heard of QSR?
Do you know what this company is?
What have I lived under a rock for the last 30 years?
Well, I don't know. Some people live under a rock. Well, QSR, they are the pioneers in restaurant technology. They basically perfected it since 1996. Jimbo, how old were you in 96?
I was about 18 years younger.
18,
Sorry, yeah,
24?
I was a little younger.
20. Yeah, I mean, literally, they are really a platform in the restaurant space. Do you realize that 21 of the top 25 casual dining chains in the United States of America use Connect Smart from QSR Automation? Jimbo, that's a fact. I'm dropping facts right now. 80-plus point-of-sale integrations worldwide, over 140 resellers. For 25 years, they have been innovating things, and we are just super excited that so many of our friends in the restaurant space have a company like QSR Automation. Their front of house, their back of house, their recipes, their insights. They do it all. Jimbo, I'm loving QSR Automation.
The kitchen display,
the KDS. Not sexy.
They say the POS is the heart, then that means the KDS is the brain.
The brain, yeah, the heart and the brains, Jimbo. The heart and the brains.
Have it. All right. QSR Automations, that's shout-outs to you. Listen, I want to jump in because we really do have a very exciting episode today. Joining us today is our friend, Mr. Ben Leventhal, founder and CEO of Blackbird Labs. That's like a touch. This is royalty. I know. We talk about Blackbird Labs, but we're gonna have to do a little history on Mr. Leventhal. But before we do, and our guest is sitting there like, do I ever get involved in this podcast, or am I just watching these guys listen and chat?
It just hangs out.
It's coming soon there, Ben. But listen, we release our podcast on Tuesdays, so we created Trivia Tuesdays, not to be confused with Taco Tuesdays, but Trivia Tuesdays. The way we play the game is there are 3 facts I'm going to give you about Mr. Leventhal. 2 are true, and 1 is a not truth, which is typically called a lie. But we'll call it a not truth. So here are the 3 facts.
I've been sucking at this lately.
You actually have been underperforming. You were outstanding. This has been a tough season for you. I'm going to give the 3 facts about Ben. At the end of the episode, I'm going to have Shatsy chime in and guess which ones are true. You could play along at home. Ben will then tell you which were the 2 truths and which was the less than true. Fact 1. Ben owns a pizzeria in Southampton.
I don't think so.
Well, hold on. I didn't ask you to comment yet. Fact 2. Ben has never had a McDonald's hamburger.
I can believe that, Jimbo. I met Ben in the office. The guy is so svelte. I mean, if he's not Pelotoning every day or on like some gluten-free diet or...
Never. You know how many times I've showed up at a wedding,
like I taking so pictures. Healthy.
I show up with sack of cheeseburgers and burgers, entertain the bridesmaids.
I can see him never having.
Never? All right. And fact 3. Ben was once the world record holder for tallest tortilla stack.
I don't even know what that means.
That means stacking tortillas. There's a Guinness Book of World Records for everything, Shatsy. So let's just be quick review. Fact 1, Ben owns a pizzeria in Southampton. Fact 2, Ben has never had a McDonald's hamburger. Fact 3, Ben was once the world record holder for the tallest tortilla stack. Remember, stick around at the end.
Yeah, I got to tell you. I'm thinking that tortilla thing. I don't see Ben wasting time. That guy's too busy doing crazy stuff. I mean, the guy. I got to just give you a little some. Can I drop some knowledge on you?
Drop some knowledge
about our guest.
Drop some knowledge about Ben.
Let's go back. Let's go back to 2001.
You got it right this time.
It's like 20-something years ago, right, Jim?
About 23.
We're in D.C. We're in Washington. We're in GW, George Washington University, and there's a young fella by the name of Ben Leventhal, and he's thinking, what should I do with my life? Do I want to be a lawyer, doctor? No, he doesn't. And he loved restaurants. He always loved restaurants.
Sure, he was hanging out at Flips or Odds. I forget what it was called back by GW, back in the day, Flips or Odds. But he was hanging at that bar thinking about this.
He loved Planet Hollywood when he was young. He loved it. So he's like, do I want to go to Hollywood? Do I want to be a star, producer, director? He loved Planet Hollywood. Loves pizza, which
favorite
might
food.
be favorite
Could
food
be
is pizza, which
favorite
yeah,
food.
I got that. But the guy doesn't go to Hollywood, doesn't be an actor. Instead, he takes what he loves about food, and he comes up with a little thing called Eater.
Yeah, little thing.
A little thing called Eater, which I think, anybody knows anything about food.
That's where all the foodies want to go to the Eater.
Everybody gets everything from Eater.
Yes.
And that wasn't enough for Ben. He's like, no. I'm not done. Most people be like, I'm done. I did Eater. I sold it for like $10 trillion, something crazy. He goes, you know what? I love restaurants, but it's very hard making reservations at restaurants. So he comes up with an idea for reservations.
Resy.
Because what do you say? Get me a Resy there. Get me a brilliant name, right? So he goes from Eater to Resy, sells that to Amex for God knows what.
Amex.
A little company called American Express. Yeah, a little company called
American Express.
For God knows what. For God knows what. You think that'd be enough? What do they say during, is it Diana, right? Diana. Like that. Diana. It's perfect timing for Diana. Aren't we coming?
Like you blend. Yeah.
But Diana, that should be enough, right? What is Diana? Something like that, right?
That'd be enough.
That'd be enough. But no. Ben says, no, I'm not done. I got to tell you, now he's created this Blackbird, which he's going to tell you about. He's a big Yankee fan. He's came in with Blackbird. Let's bring in our guest, Ben Leventhal, Eater, Resy, Blackbird, Pizzas, GW. Here he is. Ben, welcome to the show. It's like I'm never coming back to this show again.
Oh my, what an intro.
There you go. Welcome to the show, Ben.
Tell us about yourself. Did I get anything right there?
You got it all right. You did the heavy lifting for me. The place was called Odds.
Flips or Odds. Yes, I knew it was Flips or Odds. I know it was known as one, called the other Odds. There you have it.
Odds.
I spent a little time down in the wonderful Washington D.C. area, and at that joint. It was a great joint.
Odds, J. Paul's, Cafe Milano, which I'm told is still there and still kind of a hot spot.
Very nice.
Morton's Steakhouse across the street.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. So I got a little bit of that right. I got the Eater, I got the Resy, I got GW, and I got Blackbird, and the Yankee fan and pizza. So I got a lot right.
All right, we're gonna dive in and have a really good time with Ben, because what he's doing with Blackbird Labs is something significant, and I dare say it's important. Look, Ben, you have the Midas touch when it comes to building businesses, and we have no doubt. And we're going to learn for our listeners more about what you're building at Blackbird. If you look at some of the similarities between your past and now your current company's businesses, they all revolve around content. And I will tell you, I'm a huge believer that content wins. And while distribution channels are important, of course, we do believe content wins, and that's really what you're about. And you actually were one of the OGs, the originals of content creators in the food service space, the hospitality space, and it's been incredible in such a short amount of time how much content has changed and evolved. So when Eater was started back as a blog in 2005, I think today would probably start out as a digital channel, maybe on TikTok or something like that, because people's consumption of data, or consumption of content has changed from reading to viewing. But can you share a little bit about how this changed, and maybe share some advice on how businesses can and should use content? At the end of the day, you're a content expert. How do you think some of it's changed, and how can businesses better use content to support and help them?
Yeah, I think that if you think about how content has evolved, I mean, a couple of things that you notice. One, I think, is certainly the sort of content creation cycle gets quicker and quicker. One of the things that we did with Eater that was defining is that we were quicker than print publications. And it was in the early days, one of the things that kind of really brought us a lot of joy, frankly, is that we kept beating, the New York Times and Florence Fabricant on stories that she had, but she just didn't have an outlet to publish them on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, right? That she just had Wednesdays.
Right.
And as we started publishing content online, all of a sudden the cycle timing and the cycle rhythm changed. And it only took about a year for the Times and New York Magazine and all of the other old line publications to have to adapt. And all of a sudden you had, I think it was called Diners Journal, which was the first New York Times blog, and they started publishing all week. And it started with them publishing only on Wednesdays, but they pretty quickly figured out that, oh, wait a second, if we have the story on Monday, we don't run it, Eater's going to run it. So I think that, and now it's even quicker.
Oh, my goodness.
in the TikTok cycle and the Instagram based cycle, it's way, way quicker. We played around with some formats in the early days of Eater where, we had longer blog posts and shorter blog posts. And, the shorter blog posts, the little snippets we publish, like those are basically the precursor to tweets. So I think we've just seen the pace of content, the sort of news cycle of, if you will, just get quicker and quicker and quicker. I think that's really ultimately what we're looking at. Certainly the storytellers have changed.
Yeah.
In the Eater days, it was me and it was Locke, and we had obviously all of the establishment writers telling stories. Now I think pretty much anyone can tell restaurant stories and find a real audience around them.
Everybody's an influencer. Everybody's a maven on the subject of restaurants, right?
Yeah, you put out a shingle, you say I'm an expert on restaurants, and you go post videos on TikTok, and sometimes they land. So I think different pace, different set of cast of characters. I think the through line though is, and this is the key point about content in the end, is good content will win, and good content is about storytelling. You have to be a storyteller. People and entities and businesses and restaurants that are just publishing content to check the box and to say they're doing content, ultimately they're creating noise. The good content is about storytelling.
Not those guys, those folks. Noise, not authentic.
Yeah, because it's not about quality. It's about it's not about quantity. It's about quality. You want good stories. I would agree. All right, listen. There's a lot of wood to chop with Ben because he's done so much. And the guy's 28 years old. Look at the guy, and he's done so much in such a short period of time. Jimmy, I'm 57. I'm still struggling. I'm on this podcast, and this guy is like selling companies. Let's talk about Blackbird a little bit. And there's a lot to get into on Blackbird. My head will explode if I dig it all. But I want to just talk about right now about Fly, a little bit about Fly. And look, I'm a Delta miles and Bonvoy. I love I'll pick a Marriott property and I'll fly Delta if I can to try and get there because I love my points, I love my miles.
Yes.
And Fly, I'm thinking Fly. Are we just going to Fly or is it dollar Fly or just Fly? Fly dollars, Fly? Just Fly. We're thinking just Fly. And I'm thinking about Fly. It's like points and things like that. But instead of just using it at my points at Delta or my Bonvoy at the Marriott's for room upgrades, Fly could be used to buy appetizers, to buy drinks, to buy cocktails, to buy merchandise, anything in restaurants. At least for now. For now, it's basically I now have points in any restaurant that's part of Blackbird. I'm basically like it's Bonvoy, but instead of it just being Marriott properties, it's Blackbird for any restaurant. They don't even have to be affiliated with each other. So let's just talk a little about this new currency that you're creating. And I know there's a lot more, but I just wanted to get into this because I feel like that's phase one. You tell me.
Yeah, well, you've described it very well.
All right, thank you then, Ben. That's appreciate that. Jimmy, take it away. I've explained. There's nothing more to talk about.
We're good. Yeah, we're good. Next question. You're exactly right. Fly is a rewards currency for restaurants. And if you think about how those big programs work, whether it's Marriott Bonvoy or United or Delta, the scale is what makes it work. Mm-hmm. The scale of the network that Delta has built or that Bonvoy has built, we've seen Marriott create that over the last 2 decades and through
I
acquisitions
mean,
and growth.
they don't even own MGM properties out in Vegas, and MGM added all of their properties.
It's a huge portfolio.
It's just like a channel for booking rooms.
Listen, so the thing is that restaurants, as individual operators, they don't have the scale of the large players.
Right.
And I think that's a kind of core observation of Blackbird, and something that we're really trying to address and give restaurants as a group the same scale that some of those large players have. Ultimately, the independent restaurant finds itself competing for customers with those guys. Starbucks has loyalty, Pizza Hut has loyalty, Domino's has loyalty. At the end of the day, you may think of your restaurant as being in a slightly different class from price and quality standpoint, but in terms of customer engagement, retention, long-term value, you're competing with those guys. So we need points to make it work, and that's where Fly comes in. And as you said today, it's about cocktails and merch and one-off things. In the long run, we'd like to see that evolve into a liquid currency for you to spend at restaurants.
As we talk about the liquid currency, and by the way, I love what you're doing, because restaurant operators hate discounting. They hate discounts, but they love rewards. They love rewarding loyal guests. And to a certain extent, you've highlighted that the independents, the SMBs, are challenged by the juggernauts who can have their own program given their size. But we're staying on really, I think, the topic of Web3 at this moment, and this is still such a new concept. And I don't want to assume. You know what happens if we assume, Shatsy, right?
You make an ass of you and me, Jimbo. I saw that on a couple episodes.
Yes,
I love it, man.
Okay, but if you assume, I don't want to assume everyone's so common or understood. For our listeners, we want to grasp where the restaurants are going to fit in this digital world. So can you share maybe a little bit of maybe a Web3 lesson for those that are not yet
idiots?
No, not yet fully, let's say, embrace it. We can say Web3 lesson for dummies, but I'd rather say a Web3 lesson for those that are still learning about this.
So politically correct.
And specifically how it relates to the restaurant operators who really do need to lean in and start thinking about leveraging this space. So Web3 lesson, can you give it to for the benefit of our listeners and Shatsy?
Yeah, look, if you're a restaurant operator and you're trying to think about Web3 and try to figure it out, I think the thing I would say is please stop. Go back to running your restaurant.
Wait, can you say that again? Can you say that again for our listeners? Because there was a time where every operator was like, I got to get into Web3. I'm like, what the hell is he talking about?
Web3 is technology, and it is our job to think about it and point it at restaurants in ways that benefit restaurants and help them scale and help them do better. The average independent restaurant operator, the best-in-class restaurant operator, is not supposed to be thinking about quote-unquote Web3 right now. But what I would say about Web3 is it's technology. It's really promising. It certainly is cutting edge right now. And we think it's going to allow restaurants to be more connected with other restaurants and their guests. And we also think it's going to help bring transaction costs down. There's characteristics of what the blockchain is and can do that are really exciting in those ways. So as a really, I think, pretty straightforward example, I'll give you two. One straightforward example is when we want to move Fly from consumer to restaurant, essentially transact in Fly. Right. In the legacy system, if you were to use a Visa card or a MasterCard, there's a whole set of fees associated with that transaction. There's
a lot of hands in the cookie jar, Ben, right?
There's a lot of hands in the cookie jar, and that's a legacy system. And there's certain things about it that are extraordinary. Scale of the system, the durability of the system, the throughput of the system. But in the end, it's very expensive. And we can move Fly on chain at virtually no cost. Now we have to figure out how to get money in and out of the system, and it's our job to figure that out.
Right.
But one really exciting thing that the blockchain offers is the potential for movement of money from consumer to restaurant in a much cheaper way than it moves today. The other really interesting thing about blockchain is because of the nature of the system. So when you, as a consumer, check in at a restaurant using Blackbird, we record that check-in on your profile. We note that you've been to that restaurant. We note a bunch of things about who you are. And that exists as essentially a dining profile on chain. Now, it's important that people's privacy is respected and understood. So, for example, your first name, your last name, your email, your phone number, that's all offline. That's off chain. That sits on our secure servers. But the idea of a dining profile of a person who
what I
goes
like
out
to
to
eat, what I like
restaurants,
to drink, how much I spend. That's
where you
anonymous, but
spend it,
it's important.
that the set of those profiles is an open data set.
Yep.
And we expect over time people and entities and companies and all kinds of collaborators to use that data set to create interesting things. So I think it's early days for Web3.
Yep. Right.
But the big points are there's a lot of potential there. The average independent restaurant needs to continue thinking about running their restaurant.
Yes. It makes a lot of sense, though, because, like, in full serve, like our restaurants in New York, full serve, fine dine, people come in and it's almost exclusively credit cards. And we really don't know much about the guest outside of what we learn when we're actually talking to them there. If they come back all the time, maybe we know what they like to eat and drink. We know what table they want. But really, what you're saying is that the Web3 and what you're doing will allow me to understand who my guest is when they check in with Blackbird. I may not know specifically who they are, but as 1,000 or 2,000 or 1,000,000 people come in through my doors, I'll start understanding, what they like, what they don't like in the macro sense, right? So, I mean, you're really building, giving me an opportunity to really understand who my guests are, and maybe even getting rid of the old punch cards, the old loyalty marketing and discounting, to Jimmy's point, which we really don't like discounting, because that's really not a great way to, just giving somebody a deal. I mean, the retailers have been doing that for a long time, and you see what's happened to a lot of these retailers, that you kind of understood that the only time I'm going to buy something is if I get a coupon, and then if I'm not, I'm just going to wait until the sale. So just give me a little bit more about how, as we talk about this, how Blackbird's going to help solve for this.
Look, you have to know who your customers are.
Right.
And as I said, you're competing for your customers with some extremely well-resourced competition. And so I think a big part of the future of independent restaurants is them getting tools to understand the value of the customer standing in front of them, both at the visit and also on a long-term basis, and how to engage with that customer, how to retain that customer effectively, cost effectively, and from a hospitality perspective for the long run. You should have more repeat customers. They should be easier to find, and they should be easier to retain. And that's ultimately a software opportunity.
Yep.
And Blackbird hopes to help you with that.
Now that's excellent. I kicked up some dust, or I continue to hopefully kick up some dust. And if you're not kicking up dust, you're not working hard enough. What I've been kind of sharing Brandon's thoughts around the tech stack, and how it's our bet that best in suite, will beat over the medium and long term best in class. Bundling solutions, integrating solutions, having tech that speaks to each other more seamlessly. But it seems at the moment, I would dare say that Blackbird is kind of in a league of its own right now, as you've built a solution which is more, it's more about access than it is about solely reservations and loyalty and perks. Would you say that's a correct statement on my part? And also, like, which path do you see Blackbird going on, as you grow your solutions? Is Blackbird going to be the type of company that builds it as you start bolting on and adding on features, buying it, or at the end of the day, it'll be a combination of both?
The thing that I've learned so far in my career building tech for restaurants is that the less you have to ask the restaurant to do in terms of implementation, operations, and training, the better.
100,000%.
That's a big percentage.
No, it did, because at the end of the day, someone just in our team in our restaurants, and I'll let you finish. They're like, well, look, Schatz, no more tech unless my team has to do nothing. So if they have to do nothing, bring it on.
If you only take one thing out of this, if you're developing software, that's the number one point. Don't ask restaurants to do more than the absolute minimum you have to ask them to do.
Yes, man.
So that's the answer to my question here, and it is that Blackbird intends to integrate into the stack, be the best in class at what we do. But I think that the tech stack in restaurants, there's a lot there now.
Yes.
And I think it's incumbent upon operators and providers to start to connect and to integrate. In not that we're not doing it right now, and the big companies especially have gotten pretty okay at integration. When you think about how POS integrates today versus 20 years ago.
Yep.
I mean, 20 years ago it was virtually impossible
Sure.
to integrate with POS, and today it's not impossible.
If they want to let you in.
We have a lot.
If they want to let you in.
Yeah, exactly. It's not impossible though, but I think we have a lot more work to do. But I think that's the key point: is that I don't think the monolithic services are the answer, and I also think there's a lot of bloat in the tech stack right now. But hopefully, what we'll see in the next couple of years is that specialists get better at what they're doing, and get really good at integrating.
I like it. I like it.
There you go.
Ben, before we go on to the next segment, Blackbird. Any meaning behind the name?
We love the name because there's lots of meanings. It's a great song. It's a great poem.
Blackbird. That little Beatles action there, right?
I don't know.
You're a little pitchy there.
Yeah.
A little pitchy there, Chatsy.
Blackbird. Yeah, by the way, I'm going to do everyone a favor, and I'm not going
But nothing personal there. Just.
We really like the word, and it's got lots of contours. And
So it's whatever I want it to mean to me.
it means a lot to
That's
people.
right.
It means a lot to me. All right, I love it. I love it. Let's get on. Should we go into a little
Hot or not?
Hot or not?
Hot or not? You music for hot or not? Oh,
Yeah, we got some music for that.
I was hoping
No?
for Buster Poindexter.
I don't know what to do. But let's go a little hot or not. Ben, I'm going to ask you. I'm gonna throw out a word, and you tell me hot or not.
I got it.
Okay, here we go. TikTok recipes, hot or not?
Not.
Automated pizza makers, hot or not?
Hot.
Kitchen IoT, smart kitchens, hot or not?
Not.
Drone food delivery, hot or not?
Not.
Jimbo.
There's a lot there. Well, so to be clear, actually, basically, it was a not. It was a three knot. It was three knots and a hot.
Well, you can see what was hot to Ben.
Yeah. So, by the way, that was a tell about that pizza story earlier.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
When I want to touch, I usually touch on one, but I want to touch on two things. I'm going to ask you more about the automated pizza makers, but I particularly am interested in your kitchen IoT and smart kitchens and the not, because I have to tell you, we're hearing a lot about it. We're seeing a big push. A lot of companies are out there. And from Schatz and I, as you know, Schatz a restaurant guy, me a finance guy, we're sitting back looking at the CapEx. We're looking at the disruption, and you know, we see it coming. But I'm also seeing a lot of friction there. So before I jump into the pizza maker, just you said not on kitchen IoT and smart kitchens. There's a lot of stuff brewing in that space. Why are you such a resounding, or why were you a not?
I feel like we've been talking about this for a decade already. I feel like we've been talking about smart kitchens and automated kitchens and IoT for so long and ad nauseum. If it were hot, it would have sort of
happened,
matured by now. Look, it's as you said, it's a ton of CapEx, so that means it takes a lot of time.
Yep.
In the long run, hot or not, sure. I think kitchens overall are going to get a ton smarter than they are today. But are we
Right now,
quickly
is it hot?
moving to a land of automated kitchen and robots? No.
Okay, so the way thing, let's
I
talk
would
to
agree.
because you agree. Ben said it. Kitchen IoT, smart kitchen's not, but automated pizza, that's hot. Ben, care to expand
because-
upon that?
Well, Ben's a big shareholder in a large automated pizza company.
No, I think the reason I say hot here is because this is the path to automated kitchens, like highly specialized,
Yes.
highly focused elements of it. You can put some tech behind. I think pizza. I mean, look, the wonderful thing that's happened in pizza over the last couple of years, like it turns out it actually is just science. Pizza is two things: it's science and it's emotion. But like good pizza, the guys who are at the top of their game, they've spent a lot of time understanding the nuances of the dough, and it comes down to very, very specific recipes, and cook times, and cook temperatures. The ovens have gotten a lot better.
Yes.
The dough used to be made for these coal ovens where you couldn't really control the temp.
What do you use at
Now
your
the
pizzeria in Southampton, Ben?
Don't answer that, Ben.
Oh, Jimbo, you see what I did there? Oh, man. Sorry.
But that's how you get to the automated kitchens. Is you pick something off like pizza, which you can point some tech at and make some progress.
Ben knows way too much about pizza not to own a pizzeria.
All right, Bob, I'm going to agree.
Are you kidding me?
Although maybe it's a ruse. Maybe it's
I don't know.
No. Maybe it's
He's talking science
hold
and
on,
dough.
Hold on. Maybe it's East Hampton. That would be a tricky.
Jimmy, all you talk about pizza is like, where can I get it and how much cheese?
I like
He's
pizza.
talking about science and dough recipes.
I don't make pizza. I don't own a pizzeria. I like pizza. Okay, listen, Ben, it turns out we, of course, started the podcast because we like chatting with people, especially Schatz. You can't get him to be quiet. He's always talking. But we learned along the way that sometimes our guests have a question for us. So we created Talking Back. We're going to allow you to ask us a question or two. And as I like to say, nothing is off the table.
All right, so here's my question. I think it's probably more for Jimmy than for you, Shatsy.
Thank you,
But you
Ben.
probably
Appreciate
both have a perspective. This is about technology, obviously, and the introduction of technology into restaurants. So I'm curious to understand, you get pitched new tech all day long.
Yes.
None of it's free. How are you thinking about modeling tech into the P&L and into the projections of a restaurant? Has it become material, like labor and occupancy? And if so, how do you think about it from a percentage standpoint? And if not, how soon do you think you will be?
No, great question.
Good question.
That's a great question. Look, I'll two quick things. Quick, right? Two things. One, our diligence process, first and foremost, when we look at a company, and you're right, we have the great benefit and good fortune to have a very large top of funnel and see a lot of deal flow. Because we've deployed capital in the early stage space. I think Schatz particularly has been a great friend to entrepreneurs. So we see an awful lot of opportunities, including being shown stuff from later stage investors who see stuff and send it our way. But the first thing we do in looking at a tech is the Schatz and the SME team, the subject matter expert team, has to look at the tech from an operator perspective. And does the tech add value? Is it helpful? Will it do something? Is it a solution to actually solve a pain point, a challenge, or an opportunity? And if it doesn't do something meaningful, it dies right there and we don't go further. And I think a lot of technologists, I think one of the areas that they might be making a mistake on is they're thinking about tech that can solve restaurant operators' issues maybe 36 months down the road. You approach a restaurant operator and you said earlier, they're running their restaurant, they're in the weeds, they're fighting in there, they're grinding, they're dealing with customers and their staff. You can't approach them with a solution that's years down the road. It's got to not only have an almost immediate or very near-term action, it has to do something for them, and it has to be one of the things that rank on the top of their prioritization list, because they're not going to solve problem 76. It's maybe 1 through 6. So that's one. To your point then, to your question to me is, once Shatsy and the operators or the experts say yes to they love it as an operator, then to your point, we have to dig into the financial story, which encompasses what's the cost to the operator? And by the way, we have a few technology companies that are free to the operator, which removes at least one friction. I mean, Tables, back to your old days in your space, Tables is a reservation platform that it's free software to upsell. It's let the guests pay a few dollars, more to choose their table as opposed to be assigned a table. But we do look at the cost. And then I would say quite simply, and maybe it's not so simple, is what is the benefit analysis? Is the software going to address labor issues, which is one of the biggest issues outstanding? And we look at the payback for a restaurant. Innovative Tap Solutions, DBA, Pour My Beer, Pour My Bev. It's like a 2-year, maybe literally 18-month payoff that if you invest in that system, you're getting all your money back as a result of the labor saving. So we're always looking at the payback to the operator, and we are judging that as part of our investment is if the operators are going to have friction, like how much it costs them and do they see the value, then it's going to kill them in sales. So you're 100% correct. We are looking at the line items. Right now, the hospitality industry, the restaurant industry spends a little more than 1% on tech. Okay, maybe a little less than 1.5%, I'd say. Yeah. And the standard, let's say, businesses and their spend on tech is over 7%. So as an industry, we are actually 3x underinvested in tech. And part of our thesis and the tailwind I expect for our benefit, our business, is that we as an industry are underspending on tech. But by the way, it's not going to become the big line item like labor and food and equipment, but it is going to be a line item because right now we're about 1.37. Actually, it's a number I know pretty well, and 7 plus is the typical industry spend on tech. We're way below that, so I think we have room to go.
Yeah, I think it's a good point, Ben, that you bring up, though, because it's funny. It dovetails into, if you talk to operators and what they see on their P&L and what stands out, forgetting the COGS and obviously the occupancy costs and labor, the prime cost, the basics that really are there. Operators generally jump right down to credit card processing. It's like they see that and they're just like, what the hell is this? What, are you kidding me? And it's like 3% base. I mean, generally speaking, it's like 3% of sales, And to Jimmy's point, I mean, we're underspending in the industry by a lot. I mean, he said like 3x in terms of tech. So there's a lot of white space in how much an operator can spend on tech. I don't think they're really looking at it on a line item right now that I'm spending, this is my spend for, this SaaS and that SaaS. I don't think they're really cognizant as long as they believe they're getting value out of it, if that makes sense.
Now, by the way, Ben, it was a great question, and clearly Schatz and I are jumping on it probably more than you wanted or our listeners wanted. But I look at kiosks right now. We had so many restaurant operators, big ones, and they would say, we're never getting rid of our cashiers. No way. That's part of our ethos. That's part of our culture, our brand, the welcoming, the smiling.
So California made it $20 down.
Yes. Still California changed as well. But don't take my word for it. You look at what Shake Shack is doing, and they're being wonderfully public about sharing some of the data. And the fact is the kiosk does it's not just a labor saver. Actually, it's a sales enhancer because their sales have grown with kiosks, and you think about the automation, the imagery, the pictures. No disrespect, but you want fries with that, which is the famous line about a cashier, is perfunctory compared to what a kiosk could do. So Brandon invested in Bite Kiosk, and that's not who Shake Shack uses, but that is a company that is so embraced. So these operators said that they'd never remove their cashiers. Guess what? They're removing the cashiers because not only is it a labor saver, but it actually upsells. We see kiosks where their check count is at some point 12% higher than what they were getting off of a human. So those are real numbers. So to your point, yes, they're going to look at the costs of instilling and installing, I should say, kiosk and the software. But when you start seeing a 12% uptick in the ticket size, you realize that kiosk can actually pay for itself in a limited amount of time. Shatsy's playing the music like it's the Oscars.
Jimbo, that's just
he's playing the music, telling me Benny's telling me to get off that.
I think that's the Oscar music, and Jimmy's your Oscar winning speech is going a little too long.
I enjoyed
Jimbo. It's The Spice is Right, man. Right. Ben's a busy man. He doesn't have that much time. He's got to go start another company. But we got the Spice is Right. Ben, are you ready to play The Spice is Right?
I'm ready.
It's you versus Jimmy in a little showcase showdown, okay? And I gotta tell you, we got fabulous prizes, fabulous gifts, fabulous stuff here at The Spice is Right. All right, here's what we're gonna do, okay? I'm going to give you a menu item at a restaurant, and you're going to guess the price, just like The Price is Right, without going over. Price is Right rules are in effect. You cannot go over. If you go over, you lose everything, all right?
That might be an item in a pizzeria.
And Ben, we know you love Planet Hollywood, so obviously you know something about Planet Hollywood. There's a high roller appetizer sampler there, which includes their famous chicken crunch, their Texas tostados, their delicious buffalo wings, 5 cheese dip, and fried jumbo shrimp, okay? This is at Planet Hollywood in Orlando, so it's a big one.
How many does this thing serve?
I don't know, but it's big, it's delicious. Jimmy, for you, Ben, for the entire family. So this is Jimmy, this is just for you. Okay. Ben, this is for the entire family. So what do you think the high roller sampler appetizer goes for over at Planet Hollywood in Orlando?
Can I hear the items again?
You got the chicken, you got the famous chicken crunch.
Does it say how many pieces?
It's a lot. It's a nice. I'll say 6 ounce. 6 ounce portion.
No, he doesn't.
6 ounce portion.
He doesn't know.
Texas tostados, a big mound. Buffalo wings, I'd say six wings. 5 cheese dip. There are 5 cheeses in that dip, so you get 5 cheeses. And fried jumbo shrimp. Let's say 4.
5.
Four.
Oh, the shrimp. I forgot.
6,
wow.
6 shrimp.
I forgot the shrimp.
I have no idea, but that's what it is. It's a lot of food. What do you think?
I'm gonna go $21.99.
$21.99. $21.99. Jimbo, would you care to guess?
Yeah, by the way, I'm not going to play Kiji because I could, what did he say, 21.90?
$21.99. Yeah, don't go with
don't
the
do
dollar.
22,
I'm not
bro.
playing. I'm not
Don't go
playing.
that
I'm not
game.
playing cheeky. I'm not playing cheeky.
Yeah.
The first number that came to my mind before Ben said a word was I was at $38.50.
38.
I'm talking much higher, so I could be way wrong.
Screwed
No, I
here.
got to
No,
tell you,
you're the
Jimbo,
finance
I don't
guy.
think
I'm
Ben really
screwed.
understood
I'm
how
screwed.
the magnitude of A, inflation, and B, how much this thing is. Yeah, maybe I should have said how many people this feeds. Yeah, Jimbo, I got to tell you, ding, 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 Jimbo, the Frischling family wins the Showcase Showdown.
the item?
Oh,
How much
my
it cost?
goodness, $42.99. $42.99 is the price. And Jimmy, and oh, look, there's Barbara, Sylvie. Come on down. Everyone's coming in. Jimbo, so excited. The whole Frischling family is here. Oh, this is
All
great.
that shows you is that I know my platters, my appetizer platters. I know them well.
You know, baby.
Not
you
the
know.
first time I've ordered the platter.
we going into,
the poop platter? Yeah, we're going right now back to Trivia Tuesday. Remember at the top of the show, I gave you 3 factoids about our friend Ben. 2 are true, 1's not. And I'm going to ask Shatsy to opine and make his guesses. Quick review, the 3 factoids. Ben owns a pizzeria in Southampton. Ben has never had a McDonald's hamburger. And Ben was once the world record holder for the tallest tortilla stack.
I don't know what pizzeria he owns in Southampton, but the guy knows so much about pizza. I could see him, he's definitely a partner in a pizzeria in Southampton.
I mean, there's so many ways for you to get tripped up here.
Yeah,
But good
yeah.
luck to you, Shatsy. So many ways to
World
get tripped
record
up.
over tallest tortillas. I don't even know what that means. I'm going to say that he's had a McDonald's hamburger with a GW, was plastered drunk one day, one night.
Family
I
show.
mean, I used to go out, before I'd go out, I'd stop at McDonald's and take a couple single cheeseburgers and put them in my pocket for later.
You know what I think? I think that's something you just might have mixed up on. You just said cheeseburger. I'm a Ben and
Oh, you
and our
say that he's had a
producer,
cheeseburger, he's never had a
but
hamburger?
I'm just saying it may have been he's never had a hamburger. But by the way, I'm not sure I've ever had a McDonald's hamburger. Why have the hamburger?
You've
Yeah,
never
cheeseburger.
had a hamburger from McDonald's?
I always had cheese on it.
All right, I see. He wasn't a world record tallest tortillas.
Okay.
I know what that means.
You go
That's-
pizzeria true, a hamburger,
Yeah.
laughter of true.
Yeah.
All right, I'm telling you, I think the tortilla is true. Ben, what says you?
So you both said that hamburger is true, right?
Yeah.
That is-
You've had a hamburger from McDonald's.
No, I'm saying I'm agreeing with
saying-
you. I'm saying you've never had a hamburger.
I say
agreeing
you
with
have
that.
had a hamburger.
I'm saying
I
that was
have
true.
never had a McDonald's hamburger.
Boom.
That is true.
Well, did you have a cheeseburger from McDonald's?
No,
Okay.
Have you had a
Neither.
Big Mac?
none of it.
None of it. None of it.
Wow. That's why I should have stuck with my gut. He's so svelte, this
Yes.
guy. Look at him. Obviously, that's how he stays up.
Wait, so that's the true one. He's never had it, which means the pizzeria or the
Yeah,
tortillas.
he has the world record for the tortilla.
Hold on, let him tell us.
All right, let's talk.
It is true that I own a pizzeria, but not in Southampton.
Boom, got it. See, the words matter, man. The words matter.
do matter.
The words matter. I think that so the tortilla stack is true.
It's true.
Love
it's
that.
true.
What the hell was that about?
I was at South by Southwest in I think it was 2018, and Mashable was doing a thing, and they roped me in, and for a time I was the world record holder when it comes.
How
came to
tall was the
tallest
world record?
tortilla stack? It was quite tall. It was 4 or 5 feet. It's quite tall.
See, just putting tortilla.
Yeah, but you can't just do them like that. You have to think about from a structural perspective, because what's going to happen is the weight of the tortilla is a lot. So you got to figure out how you're going to get. You got to get as high as you can before.
Did they let you use guacamole as paste? No. That was like a mortar and the bricks in the
No,
mortar.
come on.
Dianu.
Come on.
Dianu.
No. By the way, I love it. So the pizzeria, yes, he's the owner, but not in
I am
Southampton.
a partner in a pizzeria
Yes.
in Amagansett.
I told you
What
that was
pizzeria? Let's give that pizzeria a plug.
told you
Ben
that was the
Leventhal.
Feeney, 237 Main Street in Amagansett.
Jimbo, you live out there.
Absolutely.
You're in Bridge. How you know
Yes.
this one?
Yeah, I do
Yeah.
know it. I didn't know he owned it.
Oh, so does Jimmy get it if he
we're partners
mentions
in that.
Ben's
We're
name?
partners
Does he
in
get a
that, yeah.
discount?
We don't want the discount. We want to support the business. Support the local business.
So nothing, no discount for it. Let Ben give you a little something,
Oh, you know
Jimbo.
something. Proud to be a supporter of
You
his
get a
joint.
free You get a free pizza if you mention.
You're
Ben's
hanging,
name.
you're
That
hanging out
comes-
at Steven's Talkhouse. You want a little pizza. You cruise on over. Everybody's happy.
All right. Well, listen. I got to tell you, I lost again. I am really cold on that. Let's just get. We got a couple minutes left. We got to let Ben get out of here. But I got Brandon Quickfire coming. Ben, 5 lightning round questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
And I promise you, this pain and suffering in this podcast will be over. And Ben's like, I'm never doing a podcast again unless it's Blackbird's podcast. Never again. All right, 5 questions. Here we go. Ben, favorite New York Yankee of all time?
Joe D.
Favorite iPhone app? What is the app that a guy like Ben Leventhal has that he loves? Can't think don't say Blackbird.
Aside from Blackbird, there's an app called ForeFlight. That's both weather and aviation in one, and 2 things that I follow closely. So that's my answer. ForeFlight.
What is your favorite food city in the world, Mr. Leventhal?
NYC.
Can't argue with that. You know, favorite pizzeria in New York City. This could get you in trouble, but in New York City.
I'm not going to give you one here because it's impossible. It's New York City. But
Okay.
I'm going to say right now, I think the guys that are firing on all cylinders, Upside, F&F, and La Industry, all 3 extraordinarily good pizzas. But as I said earlier, I think pizza's both science and emotion. So for me, growing up on the Upper East Side, it was Little Vincent's.
Yeah.
And down in Soho, I gotta say, Ben's still cranks.
Can't argue with that. He's dropping knowledge. Jimmy's writing those down?
I think Ben should have a pizza. I think he should have a blog.
Like a Portnoy thing?
He should be putting stuff out there like, here's my pizza joint. I think that was podcast gold. He just.
I agree. Yeah, Ben, we're going to talk about that off the air. All right, here's where things get a little weird. If you were to challenge Jimmy Rye to a juggling contest,
It's easy.
who do you have better odds of beating? Ben's
I don't
obviously
even know
a
how to
juggler.
think
I mean,
about
the guy
this
is
because
a Renaissance man.
I don't really know how to think about this, but I think I probably, don't be offended, but Jimmy, I think I'm probably challenging you.
Okay.
Well, I don't know how to juggle, so
By the way, I thought this was easy because, by the way, we can go right now, get 3 tennis balls, and I'm going to juggle for you.
Oh, you can juggle?
I can juggle.
Yeah, Jimbo.
I can't juggle, so
Right.
I'm bringing a knife to a gunfight.
Hey,
here.
I-
Oh, you
Losing
can't
no matter
juggle?
what.
He's just talking about better chance of
Juggle?
beating me.
No.
Juggling? Why the hell
No.
did we ask this question then? I felt
don't know.
like Ben was clearly like a professional juggler when he was building that tortilla thing. He was also had the world record for like juggling or something.
I will say I took a class when I was a very, very little kid, back like a grammar school in ethical culture, and it was how to be a clown. I gotta tell you, the one thing I remember from that class was I could do 3 balls. All I do is standard juggling. No one knew that about you. You didn't know that about me?
No, I thought at Camp Brant Lake, like when it rained or something, and you had bunco, you were like in there like juggling, you know?
My mom once said to me, if you're ever out of work, you could find work being a juggler. You know, when I haven't found work being a juggler, but I could juggle 3 balls.
So Ben can't juggle, I can't juggle. Why do we even ask this question?
What?
I got to question the question. Anyway, this was great. Ben Leventhal, legend.
All right.
Legend on the Hangout, Jimbo.
we kept Ben here.
Wrap it up because you got about
yes.
6 minutes. Then
We
guys,
kept her a little bit,
itching to get the hell out of
but
here.
had a lot of fun. And Ben, thank you for dropping all the knowledge and the insights. We really do appreciate what you're doing for the industry. Also, what you've done for the industry with Eater and Resy. I mean, those things are now staples in the industry. And I got to believe Blackbird's going to be soon. It's going to be. We aspire. We wish for you to wish this at the same success. But literally, for pushing the envelope. And particularly creating a platform that could be a real ally to the independents and some of these smaller folks who really do need that kind of some folks to be thinking about the tech stack for them and being helpful to them.
Ben's a disruptor, Jimbo.
Clearly, if you want to get in touch with Ben directly, you can email the podcast team at podcast@brandedstrategic.com.
I might have Ben's cell phone. Let me see.
Probably shouldn't give that, and we'd be happy to make the connection. And then I never want to end an episode without recognizing and thanking our listeners who continue to push us to really tremendous heights. It's great. I mean, we can't get over, and we want to appreciate it. We hope we keep bringing on great guests like Ben, having some fun, and also dropping some knowledge with these guests about what's going on in the industry that we love. So for Jimmy Frischling, I want to say with appreciation to Ben, thank you. And I'm going to say cheers and pass it back to my boy, Shat.
Thank you, Jimbo, and to all listeners out there. Shatsy, thank you. Ben, Blackbird, the app on, where do they download the app? It's just anywhere?
iOS,
Blackbird,
search
Android. And then if a restaurant operator wants to check out Blackbird, just blackbird.com or what is the...
Blackbird.xyz.
Blackbird.xyz. You know he's cool when he has an XYZ URL.
XYZ.
Yeah, I tried to get Shatsy.xyz. Somebody took it already, Jimbo. somebody took it. But yeah, I love what he's doing at Blackbird. I got to tell you, if you are a really cool operator and you want to see some really cool tech that's disrupting, check out Blackbird. It is doing some cool things. And by the way, you're betting on a winner because Ben Leventhal, Eater, Resy, just to name a few of the cool, and pizza owner also. Thank you, Ben Leventhal. Cheers, everybody.
Thank you, Ben.